From the tarantula that slips over the head of a sleeping baby in a crib, to the young woman who fends off a bear with her bare hands to protect her dogs, here are situations where, in the presence of animals, you had to be very lucky. In South Africa, in the immense Clarissy Nature Reserve, lives a great variety of wild animals, and a piece that poachers sometimes disturb. Elephants, like rhinoceroses, are the most exposed to this illegal hunting. These mammals have developed a certain antipathy towards humans. Often, this antipathy turns to ferocity, as happened to the unfortunate Norman Nakuri, a transporter in his 50s. His job is to transport goods across the country in his van. On this day, he had to drive through the Clarissy Reserve through a long sandy road. However, he had to stop his journey when he saw an elephant feeding on leaves and branches on the side of the road. The elephant is in a very bad mood. His space is invaded and his meal disturbed by this unwelcome traveler, who perhaps wanted to harm him. The imposing animal stands in front of the vehicle and seems to address warnings and threats to the driver, but the driver is overcome with fear. He cannot move forward or backward, nor can he leave the vehicle that shelters him to run away. Seeing that the intruder remains motionless, the elephant sees it as a bravado and decides to charge head-on. Immediately, the hood crumpled like a sheet of paper, and the van backed up under the animal's push with as little resistance as a high wagon. Fortunately for the driver, the elephant did not lash out. He had feared for his life, but he was not injured. The vehicle, however, was damaged. Next time, he will take more chances and drive faster if he meets an elephant he wants to avoid. In northern India, a young man had a bad encounter along a path in the middle of a deserted plain. He came across a family of Asian rhinos, which had emerged from the brush and had to cross the road where he was standing. Here is in a very embarrassing situation. He knows how aggressive rhinos can be and how dangerous their sharp horns can be. But where to hide? There is only a thin, bald tree near him. Anyway, he climbs it. The rhinos look at him with curiosity. The closer they get, the higher the walker rises. But the animals go away without showing the slightest sign of ferocity, and our relieved man descends from his puny turret. Perhaps there was no need to climb the branches. The rhinoceros showed no hostility, but one does not reason under the effect of fear. A thoughtless foresight led him to climb the tree. But anyway, this tree would have been of little help if the animal had attacked. However, he must prefer not to think about it, as he continues his way through this region where one must be vigilant. A small family gathered for a barbecue, had a hilarious and original adventure. It's a beautiful, quiet afternoon. There is a lot of merriment, the aroma of meat caresses the appetites, but an unexpected visitor will draw all the attention to himself. It is a black bear who, enticed by the scent of the grilled meat, comes to disturb the family's peace and quiet and turns around the cooking apparatus. The family is alarmed but more amused than frightened. They shout to frighten the bear, but he is not moved. He feels vaguely that he is not allowed to touch the steaks, but he does not want to give them up. This hesitation is expressed in an expectant attitude. The bear remains motionless, waiting for the right moment to jump on the fragrant food. But the family doesn't give up. They do as they can, while the mother shouts repeatedly to the bear, "Go away, don't touch it." The father shakes his beer bottle, thinking to scare the beast away with alcohol, like a priest who wants to drive away demons with holy water. The animal is not intimidated by this charade. Seeing that there is no danger, it decides to steal the meal, but it burns its snout, gets scared, and runs away, to the great relief of the family, which was not very afraid after all. However, the barbecue is to be discarded, since the bear still ate part of it. The images you are about to see have been circulating a lot recently. A young American woman named Haley has managed a real tour de force in an amazing move of courage. This young woman owns 2 dogs that she loves very much. On a hot summer day, they started barking furiously in the garden. The young woman ran to the house and discovered the reason for the dog's agitation. A bear was trying to get into her house over the low wall of her garden. Immediately, without thinking about it, she threw herself at the bear and pushed it away with her bare hands. The bear loses its balance and disappears behind the low wall. The young woman then hurried to get her dogs to put them in a safe place in case the bear came back. What a fright! Haley may have saved her dogs that day, but unfortunately, these kinds of intrusions are not uncommon in the summer and in the arid mountainous region she lives in. Bears often come into populated areas in search of food and refreshments. In any case, we wish her as much luck next time. Robert Irwin is an 18-year-old animal lover from Australia. He has several zoological activities, and if he is so well known, it is because he is the son of Steve Irwin, owner of a zoo and adventurer who does not shy away from anything. Like his father, Robert loves the contact with dangerous animals. He is very young. His fiery temerity has not yet been tempered by age and experience. In this footage from a zoo show, you'll see that he's a little reckless. He wants to feed a crocodile named Casper because of the characteristic paleness of its skin. Casper has an aggressive and rebellious temperament. The young man holds a large piece of bloody meat in his hand and tries to bait the reptile, which is lounging in the water of a pond. Robert is a little nervous as the crocodile slowly makes its way towards him. When it reached the edge, the predator stood still for a moment, then leaped out of the water and came forward, its mouth gaping and eager. The reckless youngster throws him the pieces of fresh flesh. But the crocodile continues to move forward dangerously, ignoring the meal he's been given. Robert did not expect this complication. He becomes frightened. The crocodile drags itself along, leaping on the grass and uttering hoarse cries. There's nothing else to do but to flee, and this is what Robert does, who has escaped. These images are probably your deepest fears. Everyone has feared once in their life what happened one night to that child sleeping peacefully in her crib. Without the surveillance camera installed above the crib, the parents would never have suspected that an incident like the one you're about to see could happen. While the little girl was sleeping the sleep of the angels, a disturbing creature decided to pay her a nightly visit. It is a tarantula. We see it slide along her thread and land close to the baby's head. It is a short visit. The spider does not linger long on the bed. It climbs up its invisible ladder and disappears, probably in a hollow in the ceiling. The child was not bitten, but the mother, seeing these images the next day, was unpleasantly surprised and shared her concern in social networks. Empathetic and wise internet users advise her to burn down her house, or at least to get rid of the contaminated bed and baby. In short, this adventure made the internet users laugh, and even the mother, who surely decided to sanitize the rooms of her house. This is a Dutch artist who went for a hike in Los Angeles, California. It's a hot summer day and the hiker is probably in the San Gabriel Mountains. His physical activity is going well until he sees a mountain lion bursting through the bushes to his right. What would you have done in his place? You might have turned tail and run for your life, but you know very well that this would be an idea that would cost you your life. No, the Dutch artist had a different, very peculiar, and even quite funny reaction. He started to roar, and the roar had the desired effect. At this noise, the puma, which was tracking the hiker through the thicket of vegetation, slipped away who knows where and apparently gave up its pursuit. The adventurer's life was saved, and he got out of this predicament with great daring. To frighten a puma without being equipped with a weapon and with the only force of its lungs is not cheap. Matt Wright is an Australian adventurer with a tendency for dangerous animals. His activities are very diverse. They involve tourism, zoology, ecology, and collecting crocodile eggs. He has a certain amount of fame, but it once caused a lot of controversy. Matt has a 2-year-old son named Banjo. He is determined to teach him the core of his business from an early age, to prepare him to follow his own path. For this, he does not hesitate to put him in contact with wild and sometimes dangerous animals. In a video he shared, we see how far his zeal for the initiation of his son goes. Matt Wright is with his son in a vast garden. Between them is a huge python. The father teaches the son to handle the tail of one of the largest species of constrictor snake. The boy holds the tail of the reptile wrapped around a wooden pillar in his little fingers, and under his father's guidance tries to pull it towards him in order to lengthen it. But the child is afraid and seems to obey his father's instructions in spite of himself. Several times we see him hastily moving away to take refuge behind his father, who must be a little disappointed. Maybe Matt Wright is a bit early with his child to give such a delicate training. In any case, the internet users are mostly of this opinion. Many have denounced the responsibility of the zoologist, believing that this dangerous training is not appropriate for a 2-year-old child. And you? What do you think? Christina Lowe and her friend Analia Burr had a terrifying adventure in September 2021 when they went surfing in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, USA. While they were underwater and Analia was taking pictures of Christina, she had a strange sensation. Something smooth and massive had just brushed against her legs. You can guess what it was. The beach where the girls were is, as Christina would say, the shark bite capital of the world. Without even checking to see if it was the dreaded fish, Christina and Analia began to swim to shore with all their might. In one of the pictures taken by Analia, a shark fin is clearly visible. The two surfers were lucky they were not bitten, but their legs showed some slight scratches. It took them some time to recover from this adventure, but despite the constant danger in Florida waters, they don't intend to change their habits. They rely on their good fortune. Let's talk again about the Australian Matt Wright, who, as we have seen, encouraged his child to play with a python. This time he is faced with a reptile of a different kind, a crocodile, which he has to feed. This crocodile has a vivid and devious character. When the animal trainer approaches, the crocodile is lurking at the bottom of a greenish, gelatinous-looking pond. Matt waves a piece of meat at the water's edge. The crocodile leaps out of the water with a speed that shows how dangerous these reptiles are to inattentive bathers. The crocodile jumps onto dry land and strides menacingly toward the zoologist, who waves his fleshy end like a fan. Finally, nothing serious happens. The reptile is satisfied with the meal it is offered, and Matt Wright, who may have felt a slight scare for a second, has done his job. These images were meant to warn people that crocodile attacks are extremely fast and that they can hide at the bottom of quiet water. And so ends our video, where you could see some curious and interesting footage featuring animals. We hope you enjoyed them. Don't forget, as always, to tell us your opinion in the comment section. Among all these scenes, which one would you never want to experience?